Five.
Okay.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the weekly edition of the Weekly Takeaway. My name is Chris Novak, your co-manager for Big East Coast Bias, joined alongside Rob O'Neill, my fellow co-manager of Big East Coast Bias. As always, we're going to be talking about the Big East in the past week, as well as a few other tidbits nationally, as we so often do. It was a pretty eventful week in the conference, and we've got a very eventful week coming to you this week as well, with with only one off day on Friday. In terms of games, there's a couple games tonight, there's a couple games tomorrow, a few big ones on Wednesday, and a loaded slate on Saturday as well that we will be discussing towards the end of the show. But as always, we'll start things off. Rob, should we just touch on the polls? Should we touch on who won Player of the Week? What do you want to start with?
Yeah, I think we can touch on all the Monday jazz that actually dropped before we were doing it today instead of during, so that was nice. A little later than usual today. Starting with the poll, still got 4 Big East teams. All 4 Big East teams are now in the top 20. So
yep. So that's your mic was a little faulty.
We're just gonna go headphones right away. Ugh. All right. Plug these in. Yeah. Are we good? You hear me?
Good.
Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, 4 Big East teams in the top 18. With Georgetown also receiving some votes after their big week. Not a whole bunch of surprises in general in the poll. Michigan State was nearly the unanimous favorite. I know you are more sold on North Carolina than Michigan State, but
I don't think it's more so that I'm sold more on North Carolina more than Michigan State. It's just I think that North Carolina with Marcus Page is the number 1 team in the country. And I'm surprised that it was such an overwhelming margin with Michigan State receiving 62 first-place votes in the AP poll. Carolina received 2, Kansas received 1. I get it, I guess. But
I think my big question, just looking at the top 5, what has Iowa State done that's better than Oklahoma?
Yeah, that's a little interesting as well. Oklahoma has a home win over Wisconsin, which they pretty much dominated from start to finish. Iowa State to this point has wins over Colorado, Illinois, Virginia Tech in terms of high major teams, and then Chicago State, Chattanooga, and North Dakota State. I mean, they've won pretty convincingly. They've rarely been tested except for that opening matchup that they had against Colorado. But aside from that, I kind of lean towards Oklahoma. I'm very intrigued by that notion. I'm also, I guess it doesn't necessarily matter, but I'm very, very intrigued by the fact that Arizona is ranked ahead of Providence, despite the fact that Providence is a head-to-head win over them.
Well, I mean, Arizona had one of the best wins in college basketball the other day.
I mean, yeah, they did. But
I see where you're coming from, but you got to reward a team for going into the kennel and getting a victory without their best player.
Yeah, I suppose I can see that. It's just, okay, they won without their best player, but they also lost without their best player. So what are you...
Well, yeah. I mean...
really gauging Arizona on?
Yeah. Just another random observation here. Is whoever wins tonight between Oklahoma and Villanova top 5 next week?
I don't think there should be any question. And if they're not, they're probably going to be 6.
Okay. Yeah.
Because to this point, I guess aside from Michigan State's win over Kansas, that's going to be the best. That's going to probably be the best win in the country, best win out of any team in the country right now.
Well, yeah, and it's the game of the night by far.
By far, game of the night, game of the week.
If you want to go by Ken Palm Thrill score, it's 77.6. The next highest is Northeastern at Western Michigan. So
yeah, exactly. So it's, and
It's gonna be a good game. We'll dive into that in a little bit.
Yep.
But that's probably your game of the week across college basketball, depending on how you feel about West Virginia, Virginia, and
Yeah.
depending how you feel about the crosstown shootout,
Yep.
which we'll also dive into.
As well as North Carolina, Texas too, I suppose, if you're interested in that sort of thing.
And I guess the Cyhawk, if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, which will be fun.
Anyway, not a lot of surprises in the poll. Syracuse dropped out. They lost twice. Neither was a bad loss. I mean,
no, but that's just what's going to happen if you go 0-2, and when Georgetown beats you down at home, that's.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think Syracuse's 2 losses are better than Gonzaga's.
I would not disagree with that. But I just can't really make an argument for them to be in the top 25 if they went 0-2.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, that's the poll. Oregon is still pretty underrated.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised that they're 24th.
Well, they lost. I mean,
yeah, they did. I'm surprised that they're actually still in it because UNLV kind of.
Yeah. Actually, talking about Oregon real quick, how did Tyler Dorsey not just destroy both legs?
I don't know. I know that they're keeping him out tonight against Navy as a precaution, but that was. And speaking of that game, what the heck does UNLV have to do to get ranked?
What are they here? 26, 27, 28, 29. They're 30th right now. But they have wins over, I know they lost to UCLA. But they have wins over, Oregon now, which was essentially a home game.
And they also beat Indiana on a neutral floor, which.
Well, Indiana's kind of terrible.
Well, yeah, but still, they beat them on a neutral floor, and they beat Oregon on a neutral floor. Do they have to beat? I guess they have to beat Wichita State on the road this week.
Yeah, and if not that, I guess beating Arizona on the road.
Yeah, and Arizona State at home, since Arizona State has steadily improved. They beat Texas A&M the other night.
I mean, with how San Diego State has looked, especially yesterday, I think UNLV is the best team in the Mountain West by a pretty decent margin right now.
Yeah, the Aztecs look kind of sluggish. I think it's definitely going to be between them. They'll stay in the mix. The Broncos and the Rebels, and depending on how you feel about New Mexico.
Yeah.
Mountain West definitely coming together right now. UNLV has looked pretty impressive.
That's about it for the poll. I mean, Purdue stays undefeated. They could possibly be in the top 10. They'll play Butler in a couple weeks. That'll be fun.
I'm surprised Purdue's not in the top 10, to be honest. They're beating everyone down so far.
If you enjoyed Butler Cincinnati, you will enjoy Butler Purdue.
Yeah.
Which both teams should be undefeated going into that game. I know Butler plays Tennessee at Hinkle this weekend, and Purdue plays I don't think Purdue plays anyone.
Purdue plays IUPUI tonight, and they play Howard on Wednesday, and they play Youngstown State on Saturday.
So Purdue's going to be 11-0. Butler, I forgot they already lost a game, but they should be 8-1 going into that game. So
yeah.
That should be a top 15 matchup for you.
Definitely, and Purdue has back-to-back games against Butler and Vanderbilt, and then they play Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. And then they play Iowa. So that's quite a quartet right there. No breaks for them at all whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean Butler, at least after Purdue, they get Southern Utah and IUPUI before they go Providence Xavier. So
yeah, we're definitely going to know a lot about the Boilermakers in a couple of weeks. But to shy away from the Big Ten, let's go back to the Big East. Big East Player of the Week and Big East Freshman of the Week awards were issued out earlier this afternoon prior to the delivery of the Big East Coast Bias Player of the Week award.
They didn't match up.
They did not match up. Kellen Dunham of Butler is your Big East Player of the Week after dropping 23 points against Cincinnati and 19 points against Indiana State. Dunham shot 13 of 20 in both games. He was 5 for 5 on 2-point attempts in his game against, let me see, I believe that was against Indiana State. Let me just make sure of that. And yes, it was. He did not miss a single 2-point field goal against Indiana State just missed 1 against Cincinnati.
And, the efficiency is a big thing to note because in Puerto Rico, he was getting points, but he was getting like 23 points on 18 shots.
Yeah.
So, it's arguable that Colin Dunham wasn't even the best player on his team this week because of Keelan Martin. But at the same time, I don't have a problem with it.
No, I don't have a problem with it at all.
It's tough to pick these every week. That's why the 2 weeks we've been doing it, I haven't picked the guy that the conference has picked yet. So.
Yep, that's true. And as far as the Big East Freshman of the Week issued out by the conference, it was won by DePaul's Elijah Kane. The New Jersey native had himself a pretty solid week as the Blue Demons went 2-0 against both UIC and Chicago State. Kane scored 20 points in DePaul's win over Chicago State and 11 points in their win over UIC. Shot 8 for 11 against Chicago State, shot 4 for 6 against Illinois Chicago. So the young man from Willingboro, New Jersey, had himself a good week, and now that's 4 straight weeks where it's been 4 different players to win the Big East Freshman of the Week award. It was Kyrie Thomas in week 1, Yankuba Sima in week 2, Henry Ellenson last week, and now Kane this week.
Yeah, and still hasn't been won by Jalen Brunson, so that's kind of surprising.
Yeah.
Which Jalen Brunson, everyone's saying how he might be NBA ready after this year. I think he needs 1 more year, at least right now.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
I think Henry Ellenson's NBA ready.
Oh, there's no question.
But that was always going to be a 1-year thing.
Yeah. I mean, anyone expecting Ellenson to be in the league in the Big East in 2016 is out of their minds. And Ellenson himself is playing out of his mind. Like I'm kind of surprised he wasn't chosen as the conference freshman of the week, rather.
Yeah, the rebounding was down a little bit compared to where he's been this year, but his minutes were down because Marquette blew the doors off both teams they played. So
exactly. So he kind of suffered in that regard. That's probably going to end up happening tomorrow when Marquette plays San Jose State.
Actually, there could have been a case made for Tracy Carter as well.
I absolutely would agree with that, to be honest. Carter played very well for himself.
Let's see. What else happened today?
Well, let's talk about the Big East Coast Bias Player of the Week. It stayed in Friartown and went to someone who probably should have won it last week, Ben Bentil. Bentil scoring an average of 22 points, grabbing an average of 7 rebounds, had the game-winning tip-in against in-state rival Rhode Island on Saturday night. I mean, we certainly thought that at first it was going to be Rodney Bullock emerging as Providence's second option, but Bentil.
Yeah, and Mike Hoppins actually thought all year that it was going to be Bentil, but Bullock emerged really at the start, and Ben Bentil struggled a little bit, but ever since the Wooden legacy, he's been unstoppable, and he had my vote last year for Player of the Week, and actually Chris Dunn had it this week, so.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised myself that that Dunn didn't get a lot of votes, considering he had a triple-double earlier this week against Hartford. I guess maybe the buzzer beater tip-in helped his cause, but with that said, Roosevelt Jones didn't receive any votes for Big Player of the Week.
The only reason that Bentil had the tip-in was because Dunn's shot rimmed out.
Exactly. So I was a little bit surprised with that, with how our voters selected their options here. Also receiving votes this week were Kellen Dunham, the Big East Conference Player of the Week, Angel Delgado of Seton Hall, Bradley Hayes of Georgetown, and I'm still trying to figure out who voted other.
I don't even know who we didn't put on the list. What's the list? Did you put Roosevelt Jones on the list?
Let me check the form. I might not have, so that might.
I would imagine that's who it is if you didn't.
Let's see. Let's see. I did not put him on the list, so maybe that was who it was.
Yeah, that's who I'm gonna assume. Bradley Hayes is a guy that I would have voted for had Bentil and Dunn not done what they did this week, because he was huge against Syracuse.
He was. He really exposed the matchup problems that Syracuse had earlier in the week against Wisconsin when Ethan Happ went off against them. I'm stunned that Devontae Smith-Rivera didn't receive a single vote after scoring 30 against Maryland Eastern Shore, dropping 20 against Syracuse. I mean, you average 25 points per game. You don't get a single vote. What the heck?
I mean, in a way, that speaks to how deep the conference is this year.
Yeah.
Conference has been much better than last year, even already. And,
no question.
I mean, that's kind of what you expected. You had all these guys coming back to school. I mean, the Big East didn't really lose anyone to the NBA, except for Villanova losing a couple guys that they replaced. Georgetown losing a couple guys that they replaced.
Yeah, and I remember that the Big East started off with a lot of teams that were unbeaten last year, but I think the conference as a whole has gotten much, much better. I don't think there's any denying that, especially the top four right now and arguably top five is very, very strong.
Yeah, and Marquette's about to have a 6-game winning streak going into the Wisconsin game. So
look out for them too.
And really, the thing that's helping Marquette, they have the 2 non-conference losses that aren't particularly terrible, but Arizona State keeps winning.
Yeah.
So every time Arizona State takes down, I think they got like 5 wins over top 100 KenPom teams.
Yeah, their resume is definitely steadily improving.
So that helps Marquette also.
Yeah, who would have predicted that Arizona State's resume would look better than, or rather the win over Arizona State would look better than the win over LSU to this point, because LSU has been incredibly sluggish so far.
Yeah. All right, should we just go to the games now?
Yeah, let's discuss what happened in the past week. We only had 3 days of games.
Yeah.
So we had 3 off days last week, which was fun.
It was nice.
It was very enjoyable to have a little bit of rest and relaxation.
Tuesday was kind of boring. Villanova did Villanova things
against St. Joe's,
which I feel like I'm discrediting them. I mean, I'm not. They have the best defense in the country. They have a top 10 offense, and they showed it. I mean, tonight is the first Villanova game that I'm genuinely interested in watching.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That's just Villanova's just been going through the motions. They've been playing their opponents how they're supposed to be playing them, and they're just getting the job done.
Yeah, I mean,
but tonight will definitely be a very, very big test for them, and we'll be discussing that later. I mean, there's not much to really say about this game except for the fact that Ochefu and his foul trouble continued, which would not be wise tonight, and we'll explain that later. They had 6 players with an offensive rating over 105. Chris Jenkins had the best night with 18 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, only 2 fouls.
Are you surprised that Josh Hart has been the best of the guards this year?
I mean, I could definitely see his emergence coming with more minutes, considering he was the 6th man of the year last year, but he's playing out of his mind.
And he was great in the Big East tournament.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if he'd be better than Arcidiacono or Brunson, and he's really outpaced both of them.
Yeah, I mean, he's taken a ginormous leap in terms of his play so far this season in the early goings.
And that's not to say the other 2 have been bad. I mean,
no, not at all. It's just that Hart has been so good.
Yep. Georgetown played Maryland Eastern Shore. We already talked about that. DSR did his thing.
Points.
Bradley Hayes went 11-9, a near double-double. It's about Georgetown. They're on track. They're where they should be.
Yep, they've won 4 of 5.
And really, if you take away the fluke loss to Radford, Georgetown's probably ranked.
Yeah.
That's still hanging over them.
But if they keep winning, they'll probably get some more votes. They have a sneaky matchup against Monmouth coming up on December 15th.
Monmouth's a good
but
team. They've been a good team so far. Well,
yeah.
then they lost to
Canisius.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that?
Assuming Georgetown takes care of business there, they're probably going to end up with a record of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 3 heading into the matchup with DePaul.
Which should be a win.
Yeah. So they'll probably be. I'm guessing that they're probably going to be ranked by the end of December.
Yep. Oh, Wade Miley actually got officially traded. It looks like.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Got some winter meetings action going on in the background here.
Yep. All right. So
Wednesday.
Was that all that went on Tuesday? Just those two games?
Yep.
Okay.
Do we want to talk about Butler Cincy first, or do we want to save it?
Well, what would you want to talk about before that?
Well, I mean, we don't really need to talk about Marquette against Grambling.
Marquette kind of just thoroughly beat them down. Wasn't really fair. I kind of felt bad for Grambling, just like I felt bad for Maine.
Grambling they've been the worst team in Division One for so long.
Yeah, I feel bad for those kids. I really do.
Yeah, that's rough, you know. Marquette beat them down. Juwan Johnson had a good game. 8 of 9, hit 4 threes, and he worked on the threes all summer apparently. And this is the first we've really seen him kind of make it work.
Yep.
DePaul beat UIC in a game that I thought would be a little closer because last year UIC took them to the buzzer. That was a road game, technically.
Even though it's technically closer to their arena in Rosemont.
Yep.
Their campus, at least, is closer to UIC than it is the arena in Rosemont. So
DePaul got to play the entire squad in this game, so that's fun. You know, you get everyone out there.
Everybody gets some burn.
Nothing really to note in this game. I mean, it was just a win.
Yeah.
It was a 20-point win. Everyone did their job. Do your job.
Yep. All right. So now let's move on to do you want to talk about Butler Cincy now, or do you want to talk about Creighton?
I don't particularly want to talk about Creighton, but I guess we can. Creighton put on a bit of a clinic on how to lose a game.
Ooh, they put on a clinic on how to lose a game twice this week.
Twice this Creighton week. Should have beat Arizona State. I'm going to say it.
They should have. And they should have beaten Loyola Chicago on Saturday.
Yeah, but at least that game they struggled throughout. This game
still.
Creighton can't shoot free throws. That's the first problem.
Yeah. And second of all, if I remember correctly, there was a situation towards the end where Grosel had an inexplicable tip off of the rim when the ball was likely headed into the basket.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the game. That was just kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, they made some mental mistakes. I saw some people saying that maybe Greg McDermott should be on the hot seat. I don't think yet. I think you give him one more year. The thing about Creighton, their best recruit is redshirting for the year, so they're going to be better next year. They're going to have Watson in the system for a year. They're going to have Kyrie Thomas with another year. They're going to have the kid from Kansas State.
Yep, Tyler Foster.
Yeah.
Or what? Is it Tyler Foster? No.
Marcus.
Marcus Foster. That's right.
So they're going to be better next year, and I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
No, but it's a bit of a struggle for them right now. But that was not a very impressive showing against Arizona State. All credit goes to Arizona State for capitalizing on it and winning on the road in Omaha. It's not the easiest thing to do at all. I'm pretty sure that it was the first time that a Greg McDermott team lost at home despite scoring 75 or more points.
That was the first time Creighton lost at home since CenturyLink Center opened.
Oh, well, there you go.
When scoring 75 or more. So, it'll happen. I mean, it's not a good loss.
No, it's not.
The one on Saturday is not a good loss either. I had Creighton 10th in the power rankings this week.
Yeah, so did I. I was actually surprised that they remained 8th. I mean, I guess a lot of people just kind of defaulted St. John's and DePaul, but DePaul looked a lot more impressive this week than Creighton did, that's for sure. And the same thing with St. John's, and they played once.
I think Creighton can still beat Nebraska.
Yeah, I think so too. But if they lose to Nebraska, well, things are going to get a little dicey in Omaha.
Yeah. So that was that game. Seton Hall, they lost, but they continue to look good.
There's no real shame losing to George Washington. George Washington is probably the best team in the A10. It was going to be a challenge for them to win on the road against them, but I still think that they look pretty impressive. They didn't get the doors blown off them.
Again, the big test for Seton Hall is how they play Wichita in Newark.
But we'll also see what Wichita State looks like at that point.
Fred VanVleet's back.
Yeah, they did get VanVleet back this week. So,
don't really want to talk about St. John's Fordham. That was a really ugly game.
That was. That's right. I forgot St. John's played against Fordham. Duh.
You have some games that are only available through online streaming, and this one deserved it.
Yeah, Fordham kind of kicked St. John's ass.
Yeah, Brian Rooms. He had 26 for Fordham and 12 rebounds. I don't like talking about St. John's game by game
because we've discussed this before. It's a process for them, but the team from the Bronx that was a bad experience for St. John's going on the BQE.
And St. John's looked a lot better yesterday. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a process. Trust the process.
Yep.
Is that everything? Can we talk about Butler-Cincy now?
Yes, let's talk Butler-Cincy now.
All right. That was a good game. That was probably the game of the year in the Big East so far.
Yeah, I definitely would agree.
In terms of excitement, in terms of quality of win, probably still Providence over Arizona. But
yeah, absolutely. But I mean that was as good of a back and forth affair as you're going to find. And going into Cincinnati and winning, not the easiest thing in the world. So all credit goes to Butler for pulling that off. When it came down to the final possession, Roosevelt Jones with a buzzer beater at the horn. Just a very, very well-played game on both sides. I came away pretty impressed with both teams.
Yeah, it's actually going to be a lot of fun to watch both these teams play Xavier this year.
Definitely.
Because in the Ohio-Indiana region, these are probably the three best teams. Purdue's up there too.
Purdue's definitely up there as well, yeah.
And we'll see Butler play Purdue also, so it's actually really nice,
Yeah.
But yeah, great game. Roosevelt Jones won it at the buzzer.
Dunham played well. Yeah, it was a layup.
Tyler Lewis struggled. Tyler Lewis has been weird this year.
Yeah, he's been very, very inconsistent.
But at the same time, how Butler works is they're so used to having a point guard like Alex Barlow with no offensive game that you don't need your point guard to have an offensive game.
Yeah.
You have Kellen Dunham, and it is going to be interesting to see how Butler looks without Jones and Dunham next year.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. But they've got a lot of talent coming in, so
yeah. But it's still going to be a transitional year, probably.
Well, yeah, but they'll still have Keelan Martin, and who's been very good off the bench this year. I'm sure
Travis. They'll have Tyler Lewis still, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yep.
But yeah, that was a good game. That takes care of Tuesday.
That was Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So now Thursday and Friday we had off.
It was nice.
It was, and now we just moved to Saturday here.
Saturday was busy.
Saturday was very busy. We started off with two games going on concurrently. We had Butler playing in-state rival Indiana State, and we also had Seton Hall playing in-state rival Rutgers at the RAC. And Seton Hall absolutely took it to Rutgers after falling behind early. Rutgers did not look all that impressive at all in the second half. The Pirates kind of imposed their will, and for the second consecutive year, Seton Hall blew out Rutgers in the Garden State Hardwood Classic.
Yeah, Rutgers was up by about 9 with 11 minutes to go in the first half, and
Then the wheels kind of just fell off. They absolutely got derailed.
speaking of Rutgers, I see it here on the sidebar. Mike Rice got a high school head coaching job.
Oh, well, good for him.
Uh, um, yeah, Seton Hall looked good.
Yeah, the Pirates looked impressive. I continue to come away impressed with Kadeem Carrington and Desi Rodriguez as well. Carrington showed out this week. Both performances that they had against George Washington and Rutgers, where they went 1-1. I mean, Seton Hall has absolutely turned the page to this point after last year's collapse. They look like a completely different team.
Yeah, but you know what it is. I mean, you got to see how they are in conference play.
Yep, that's what it comes down to because they've looked good in non-conference play under Kevin Willard in the past, and it's all just kind of fell apart in conference play. But with such a tough league that they have, we'll see what they're able to do.
Yeah. And then Butler against Indiana State. This is a weird game because Indiana State really shot well from beyond the arc, at least early on, and Butler kind of let them hang around the entire game.
Yeah, I did notice that when I was following the game. That did look kind of like, I guess, like you put it, weird, interesting, but they wound up winning by 14 in the end. So.
Well, I mean, they're not going to lose a game at Hinkle.
No. At least not like that.
Most Big East teams don't lose non-conference home games.
Yeah, which kind of just speaks to the home court advantage that each has.
Yeah. Caleb Martin had a career-high 24, which is something you need when, Kellum Dunham, he was 6 for 7, 19 points, but he was pretty well covered. That's why he only took 7 shots.
Yeah.
And actually, Indiana State covered him well last season, too. He only had 7 shots in that game, I believe. So, And Roosevelt Jones he wasn't there offensively, but he did everything else. 7 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. It was a Butler win.
Yeah.
Full house they had, actually. I think some of it was in part to the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, that was a pretty huge day in Indianapolis from start to finish, pretty much. So.
Let's see, and then do we want to talk about Georgetown Syracuse right now?
I mean, we might as well just keep rolling because other things that there are to discuss are DePaul's win over Chicago State, which wasn't very close at all.
No.
Marquette blasted Maine from start to finish.
And then we'll talk about Creighton at some point.
Yeah, we'll dissect Creighton's.
Syracuse Georgetown. What a fun game.
That was very fun. I'm very glad that game happened. I'm looking forward to the matchup next year at the Carrier Dome. It wasn't very – I guess I wouldn't say it was very dramatic, but it was fun.
Actually trying to figure it out because Georgetown doesn't have stat broadcasts. They led wire to wire, didn't they?
I'm almost positive.
No, because Syracuse started with the 2 free throws.
Yeah.
Let's see. Georgetown led from 8 to 6, and then it got tied up at 8, and then Georgetown led from there.
Yeah. Syracuse just they dug themselves into a hole really early, and it was just impossible for them to dig it out. They had a run in the middle of the second half, but they couldn't really come to within like 3 points, I think it was, or even 5. It was really difficult for them to get back into it, and Georgetown played them real well defensively.
Yeah. And, I don't think it would have made a difference if Jim Boeheim was there.
No, but you could certainly tell that Hopkins
got thrown into the Shark Tank.
Yeah, he got thrown into the Shark Tank.
And that's not indicative of how he's going to be when he takes over as head coach.
Absolutely not. But that's just the type of thing that's going to happen when you are an assistant and you suddenly all of a sudden you are thrusted up to the head coach position and you only have a few days to prepare for Georgetown.
Yeah.
On the road. Good luck.
Well, I know Jim Jackson also mentioned it during the game. It's different going from assistant to head coach. You have a different relationship with the players.
Yeah. Do I think Georgetown would have beaten Syracuse at home even with Boeheim as head coach? Yes. Do I think it might have been a little closer if Boeheim were the head coach of the team and not Mike Hopkins?
Probably.
Yes.
Probably.
I do.
Also, Mike Hopkins looks just like Dana Altman.
He really does.
But yeah, it was a fun game. Bradley Hayes is what Joshua Smith should have been.
Yep, and it's just kind of an out-of-nowhere thing with how much he's emerging. He's probably going to be, if they had such a thing, most improved player.
That would be real tough. I think we should do that.
Yeah, we should.
Because there are about 5 guys that I put, just like if Chris Dunn wasn't in this conference, there are about 6 guys that I'd have as player of the year right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, Marcus Derrickson probably had his best game of the year. Georgetown's big guys, and you said this during the game, they feasted.
They did. And if they exposed the fact that Syracuse only has a couple guys who are taller than 6'8". And, when you have guys that are 6'10" and 7 feet tall, and you better take advantage of that. And they were able to get through Syracuse's zone defense. At times, the defense kind of trapped them. They had to overcompensate a little bit. They looked a little bit confused. Syracuse was able to force some turnovers off that. But all in all, they were able to get what they wanted, and they just ate.
Yeah. And, Syracuse only had 7 guys that they played,
Yeah.
but Georgetown had, 9 or 10.
Yeah, they're so deep. They're so deep.
Yeah, and that's why Georgetown was higher in the power rankings than Providence, and people were wondering. And when it comes down to it, it's a week-to-week thing.
Yeah, it's like I said, I could lump, the Providence's, Butler's, and Georgetown's in any direction, in any order, and I wouldn't argue with you.
I mean, I've voted Xavier over Villanova the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's just I just figured that Georgetown is getting hot right now, and they had a really impressive victory over Syracuse. And although Providence wasn't favored against Rhode Island,
nope.
I just I figured that Georgetown deserves some love this week, and perhaps that'll change next week.
Yeah,
it's a week to week thing, and I don't think I'm really necessarily hating on Providence or Butler as much as I'm just buying into Georgetown right now.
Yeah. No, we love every team except the one you root for.
Yes, of course.
That's how it is.
Yes, that's how it always is.
So yeah, it was a fun game. DePaul took care of business at the 500th game ever at the Rosemont Horizon. Also their first game there this season.
Yep. Big day.
Big day. They're also something like I know I saw in the game notes. They're like 338 and like 162 all time there.
Yeah, pretty impressive record there, I suppose.
Yeah. I know Dave Lato is pretty good there too.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was cool. Good job, DePaul.
Yes, good job, DePaul.
Marquette scored 61 points in the first half against Maine. Maine scored 67 points in the game.
Mm-hmm. Another beatdown that was 104-67, if I recall correctly.
Henry Ellenson and Luke Fisher continued to do their things.
Yep, they're one of the best 4-5 tandems in the country, alongside Swanigan, Hammonds, Blewett, and either Reynolds or Farr. Marquette is a team that's coming together right now at the end of November into December, and they keep this up, they're going to be legit.
Yeah, if they can go and beat Wisconsin, I think a lot of people are going to be believing in Marquette.
Oh yeah. And I think although it's kind of difficult to win at Cole, I think it's doable.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot to talk about Providence Hartford. Chris Dunn had a triple-double. Providence won by a decent margin.
Yeah. Really needs to be said there.
Let's talk about Providence's other game real quick this week before we dive into the Creighton game.
Yep, against Rhode Island, Providence took care of their business. It went down to the wire. Very, very well played game that was kind of buried on ESPNU while the conference championships kind of took over the spotlight on Big Fox, ABC, and ESPN.
Yep.
And just like Baylor Vanderbilt last night was buried on ESPN while the Sunday Night Football game was kind of a laugher. But
there's a shock.
Right?
Oh man. But yeah, Rhode Island was actually winning in the second half, and it's just like, Chris Dunn's not going to let them lose.
No, and he didn't. He took over, and then Ben Thiel kind of took over in the final 40 seconds or so.
While we're talking about this, I just want to give Ed Cooley some credit for one of the best coaching moves I've seen all year. They get the rebound off, what was it, a free throw?
Yeah, it was a free throw.
And, Providence has the ball. The game is tied. 6 seconds left. They have 2 timeouts.
Well, no, it wasn't a free throw. Rhode Island made a jumper with 6 seconds to go to tie the game.
Yeah. So you have 6 seconds, and the clock is stopped already. You're inbounding to Chris Dunn. That's who you want shooting the final shot anyway.
Yeah.
And you have 6 seconds and more than enough time to get down the court.
Yep.
So instead of getting to half court and having Dunn call a timeout and, running a sideline play with 4 seconds left, Ed Cooley just lets it happen. Dunn drives in, somehow misses the layup. I don't
know how that happened either, but Ben Thiel was able to clean up the glass and tip in the ball at the buzzer. So
he trusts his players.
Yeah.
And Ed Cooley's probably it's a conference of really underappreciated coaches, but Ed Cooley's probably right up there with Chris Mack in terms of most underappreciated.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that.
With Chris Holtman up there too.
Yes.
So that was that game. And I guess let's talk about Creighton because we have to.
Yeah. Well, Xavier also they beat Western Kentucky by a lot.
Trayvon Blewett probably could have gotten some Player of the Week votes.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he didn't get any, but I think it's just merely a product of how deep this conference is.
He had a double-double. Xavier is 8-0. They should be 9-0 going into the Cincinnati game.
Yep, they have to take care of business against Wright State tomorrow at Cintas Center.
Which, if you're going to that game, there's a food drive, and if you bring some canned food or whatever, they'll give you $10 off basketball tickets. So
yeah, that's a heck of a deal.
You should do it.
Yes.
Xavier hasn't lost a game since we went to Cincinnati. So,
taking credit for that.
But yeah, Blewett, 21 points, 10 rebounds. He's been a good rebounder this year.
Yeah, he has. He has definitely performed well in the rebounding department. Let's see. His numbers are – let's see if I can pull these up. Yes. His mostly defensive rebounding has a defensive rebounding percentage of 23.1%. James Farr has a defensive rebounding percentage of 27.7%, and Jalen Reynolds has a defensive rebounding percentage of 21.3%. Xavier, in other words, they can rebound the basketball pretty well.
Blewett's the rare Indianapolis kid that made it out of Indiana without, going to Butler or Indiana.
Yeah, same with Smith Rivera, who went to Georgetown. So
yeah, I mean
try to make sense of that.
That'll happen once in a while. Trey Burke's in Columbus.
Yep.
And I would assume Butler offered him. They did. So, it just happens once in a while.
Let's talk Creighton Loyola Chicago.
Creighton can't shoot free throws.
No, they can't. And
but
game was...
This game, they actually were trailing the entire way. So, well, for the most part. Did they ever take the lead? I was kind of half following it because I was watching Georgetown Syracuse.
Yep.
That was the problem with Conference Championship Day. All 8 Big East games were
on at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of confusing. Creighton had one lead in the game. It was 4-2.
Yeah, that's not good. And you're on the road, so okay, maybe, but
it's Loyola Chicago. No disrespect to Loyola Chicago, but come on.
No, and I mean before they played Creighton, their best win of the year was Toledo, I guess, at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing, to maybe get surprised by them, maybe lose the buzzer. I would have been deflating.
Yeah.
But they got dominated for the entirety of this game. I mean, they only scored 7 points in the first 10 minutes and scored 11 points in the first 10 minutes of the second half, I should say.
Yeah, really, I don't know what the problem is for Creighton.
They can't make free throws. They can't. They didn't shoot well at all from three in this game. They were 6 for 20. They're not. They didn't turn the ball over that much in this game. Neither did Loyola Chicago.
I mean, it just doesn't seem like much is being done about it. Marquette had their struggles early on where they were just kind of jacking up threes, and they don't seem to do that anymore.
No, and
they had their struggles, and you can't really fix free throw shooting.
I mean, you can practice it.
No, I'm sure they do practice. I mean, you play
more.
Well, I mean,
make a point of emphasis.
We both played basketball. I assume you played rec basketball.
Yeah.
You practice free throws when you get in the game, it's different. And I assume that goes up into every level. You practice free throw shooting.
Yeah, it's just and Isaiah Zierden had 0 points in 34 minutes.
Yeah, he was 0 of 6 from 3, so that's not great. Kyrie Thomas had a very nice game, though. Let's not bury that.
He did, yeah. No, Kyrie Thomas had a very, very good game. He was the only player who really showed up for Creighton on Saturday.
Yeah. But that's why, again, you look at a starting five next year prospectively of Kyrie Thomas, Watson.
Marcus Foster.
Got
the name right this time.
Justin Patton will be in there, and Cole Huff. That's a good starting five.
Yeah, it is.
But, again, not what you want to hear right now. I mean, it's early December. You don't want to be looking towards next year.
No, it's just their prospects do not look very good this year if they're going to perform like that against Loyola Chicago.
I'm actually surprised they're still higher in KenPom than Marquette is by a decent margin.
Yeah, and Marquette started off pretty high.
Yeah, so
started off much higher than them. I don't know. It's interesting, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, yesterday, St. John's took care of business at the Garden
against St. Francis Brooklyn.
Kind of a weird game. Started at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, that was a
festival.
Yeah, it was a very curious start time. It was Chris Mullen's first game back at the Garden as head coach of the St. John's Red Storm,
and he was really happy about it.
Yeah, he was. I don't blame him necessarily. It's a great place.
I'm telling you, when they played Georgetown at the Garden, you have to have Raftery there because he was there for the sweater game.
Yeah, well, that'll probably happen. I bet. I mean, they're not crazy.
Well, I know. I mean, John Thompson's going to be there. Luke Karnasek is going to be there. Just do the thing.
Yep.
Yankuba Sema yesterday looked very good.
He did. Sema has been a very nice little bright spot for St. John's this year, along with Musini. Sema scored,
17, 10 rebounds, and 5 blocks.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty great day at the office.
Yeah, I mean he's a freshman, so if they can hang on to him for a couple of years. The big thing about St. John's again is recruiting wise, it's kind of all tied up in what Thon Maker and Raleigh Elkins decide.
Yep.
Because if you land one of those guys, you're automatically probably one of the favorites from the Big East, at least to make the tournament next year, compare it with all the other guys that you already have coming.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that's just like we always keep saying with St. John's. That's a team where you can feel good about saying, look what's going to happen next year.
Wait till next year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not doing that.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Hold on. Just while we have a break here. Any more baseball news? The Yankees have talked to the Marlins about Jose Fernandez.
Yeah, they have to offer a lot, but they do have the pieces for that. And apparently the Chapman deal might involve multiple teams, so that's not completely done yet. So
yeah, look at this. You're getting baseball news from us.
Jesus.
Hey, from April to September, we're a baseball Twitter, so
that is true.
All right, this week.
A lot on our plate this week. We've got a few games tonight, all going on at the exact same time.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you what to do, but if you're going to watch one of these games, Um, watch the one on Fox Sports 1.
Yeah, the one where Gus Johnson, Bill Raftery, and Jenny Taft will be on the call.
It's from Pearl Harbor. It's a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
It's the anniversary. I don't know if I want to say is anniversary the correct term here. I mean,
they're basically paying tribute on the anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attacks to the military.
I believe the game is on one of their ships, isn't it?
It's at a venue on their base, I believe.
Yeah, I know the Fox football pregame yesterday was actually between the two ships.
Yeah,
that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was. So I'm not fully sure if it's on a ship or if it's in an arena. I think it's in an arena.
Yeah, it says it's an arena. I know they're not playing outside.
No, they're not. Not like they've tried to do and failed miserably before.
It did work yesterday for San Diego State, though. They played.
It did. That was pretty cool.
But yeah, Villanova, Oklahoma, one of your games of the year so far. I think if you're not counting the Champions Classic, probably the game of the year so far.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how you feel about North Carolina, Maryland.
Yeah, and Georgetown, Maryland as well.
Oh, yeah. Villanova currently favored by 5.
I'm actually surprised that they're giving them that much respect.
If you want to just talk about your Sheffield, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let me go to that preview that I had. Let's put it this way. If Ochefu winds up in foul trouble again, as he has done in the past few weeks, Villanova is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Because Oklahoma not only has a ton of good guards, they also have some very good forwards as well. That includes 6'8" Ryan Spangler, one of Oklahoma's best players for the past few years. They also have Kadeem Latin, as well as 7-footer Akolda Manyang, and Rashard Odoms, a 6'6" freshman forward. And in addition to that, dropping some stats on you here, 43.5% of Oklahoma's field goals this year have been at the rim, and they're converting field goals at the cup at a rate of 65.5%. So if Villanova's main rim protector goes out, Oklahoma's going to have a field day.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's something Villanova obviously has to prepare for.
Yeah, and they don't exactly have a lot of size to make up for that. They're very rich in terms of guard play. They've got Chris Jenkins, who's 6'8". I believe Darrell Reynolds practiced without a boot earlier this week, which is big news for them. But you lose a guy that's 6'11", and it's a pretty good defender at that. That's a pretty big weakness that Oklahoma could expose with their forwards and with their guard who like to attack the basket. Yep.
And then also on at 7 o'clock, you have Butler taking on VMI. Not a whole bunch to say there. They've actually never played each other, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
But Butler should be able to roll over them before going into a decently tough test against Tennessee.
Yes, and then Georgetown also plays at 7 o'clock against Brown. The Brown Bears have been making the rounds in the Big East Conference this year. So
yeah,
I just love how they're called the Brown Bears. I just find that so funny.
You gotta do it. It's right there for you.
Yeah, I just find it really funny.
Georgetown should win. I mean,
yeah, they should take care of business in that. I'll be shocked if they don't.
And then tomorrow night
we have a few games that look a little intriguing on the docket. Xavier playing Wright State. We also have, let's see here, Xavier playing Wright State. I know there's definitely a few more. Marquette plays San Jose State.
Marquette plays San Jose State.
As well as
those are the only two tomorrow.
Are those the only two games going on tomorrow? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you just want to preview, neither of them are particularly intriguing, but if you just want,
I can touch on them for a little bit. Let's see here. So we've got, as my partner leaves us briefly here, There are a few little tidbits here. In terms of San Jose State Marquette, Spartans are, there's no mincing words here. They're one of the worst teams in Division 1A, or I don't think it's called Division 1A anymore, but whatever. Marquette has been steadily improving. Marquette should be able to feast off of San Jose's defense or lack thereof. San Jose State's allowing 104.5 points per 100 possessions. They're allowing an effective field goal percentage of 51.3%. They're not good at forcing turnovers at all. One matchup to maybe watch for is the fact that Marquette hasn't been good on the offensive rebounding side of things. San Jose State has been preventing offensive rebounds at a pretty crisp rate. But aside from that, San Jose State has a really bad offense. Marquette has a pretty good defense. They don't allow teams to get to the free throw line a lot, which is a nice little hallmark. Their perimeter defense has been improving, and teams are shooting a lot of three-pointers against them as well. The three-point rate against Marquette this year, 38.3%, 265th in the country. San Jose State likes to take a lot of three-pointers. 39.7% is their free throw rate, but they're not very good at shooting three-pointers, only converting 27.5% of their three-point field goal opportunities. We should see Henry Ellenson and Luke Fisher continue their domination because San Jose State has one player that is 6'11", two that are 6'9". Everyone else is shorter than 6'8". So they're not really going to have a lot of bodies to match up with Ellenson and Fisher. They should have once again another night of domination. Xavier Wright State. Xavier currently favored in this matchup. Wright State is the second worst offensive rebounding team in the country, which does not play well at all into Xavier's game, but they do have a good defensive rebounding team, conversely. So
yeah,
we'll see how Xavier fares on the offensive side of the glass, but they should be able to get a lot of opportunity. They should be able to prevent a lot of second chance, maybe third chance opportunities against Wright State. Wright State is abysmal at 2-point field goal opportunities. They are the second worst team in the country in that category as well.
Yep.
But
they make a lot of threes.
Yeah, they do. They take a lot of threes and they make a lot of threes. So it's going to be an interesting test for the Musketeers' perimeter defense. They're going to have to bring a lot to the table in that regard.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go to Wednesday. I've talked my butt off, so you can talk here for a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for the assist there.
No problem.
Sometimes duty business calls.
Yes.
Niagara and St. John's. Actually, the one thing I noticed is the weird start time.
Yeah, 5 o'clock Eastern. Very, very peculiar.
Yeah, I'm not sure too many people are going to be down to go into New York City at 5 o'clock, but
no, because people are trying to get out of the city at 5 o'clock. So, that's a very interesting start time. I do wonder if that maybe has to do with the semester coming to an end or something like that, or some type of thing going on in New York that's not coming off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, well, St. John's is favored in that game, and it's their last test before they play Syracuse on Sunday, which should be interesting.
Yes, it should be.
Niagara is not very good offensively or defensively. They're in the bottom 50 in the country in both categories.
Yeah.
Not too much to say there. I mean,
St. John's should win. It's kind of a situation where you'd be shocked if they didn't, even though St. John's look kind of weak going into the season, but they've beaten all the teams that they're supposed to beat. So
no, I don't think they have a bad loss this year.
No, I don't. They don't have one bad loss at all. I mean, the worst loss they took was in the preseason.
Yeah. So, just gotta keep rolling along.
Yep.
Also, Wednesday, Providence plays Boston College. Boston College lost to UMass Lowell yesterday.
Yep.
Which is not a good loss.
No, it's not. UMass Lowell is one of the weaker teams in the country right now. So that's not very good for BC going into playing PC.
Be a
at the
great
Dome.
hockey game.
Oh, it would be an incredible hockey game.
Boston College won their first 3 games, and then they've lost their previous 5. So
Not great, Bob. Not great.
no, that
That actually worked twice because your name can be shortened to Bob. So
I get it. That's good. Your Boston College isn't favored in any conference game as of right now.
that's not surprising. That is
That's
not
rough.
surprising. Yeah, BC is kind of weakening just because of the state of the ACC. But yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
Providence is favored tomorrow by a decent margin. Nothing's really jumping off the page that Boston College is particularly bad at, but Providence is better than them at mostly everything. So
Exactly.
Fun
little rivalry there in the New England area. Should be able to bring some level of excitement.
Providence plays all the Northeast schools.
Yeah, they do. They do. That's a nice little homework for them.
Nebraska and Creighton should be fun.
Ugh.
Games are always fun. We have something coming tomorrow about the history of that rivalry from Alex Sindelar.
Yes, which should be a very fun read. We've also got some more content coming for you this week on Marquette, Wisconsin, which should be very fun.
A lot of fun. And some crosstown shootout stuff. I mean,
Yes,
come
of
on. We're not
course.
gonna.
We have, because we have to.
Yeah, it would really be a good time for Creighton to right the ship.
Yes. Yes. Like I said, if they lose this game, there might be some hysteria going on in Omaha.
They have a winning streak over Nebraska, right? Of at least a couple
Yes.
games. They won last year.
Yes, and they
won in 2014.
Yep.
They won in 2013 season, so that's 4 in a row.
Yeah.
So they have only taken 1 loss to Nebraska since Greg McDermott's been there.
Yep. And so I mean, like I said,
they're actually favored. So, and before the season, actually, CBS Sports called Nebraska the best basketball team in Nebraska over the next 5 years. So, knowing what we know about the Creighton folks, they will remember that.
There. Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
Nebraska.
Watch out for your mentions, CBS Sports.
Nebraska's actually, they have 3 losses this year. They're all good losses.
Yes.
Villanova, Cincy, and Miami in overtime.
Yep.
So this game will actually be pretty interesting.
It will be. And like I said, for their sake, Creighton had best win.
Yeah. And then you have DePaul and Drake. DePaul heading to Des Moines on Wednesday night.
I think it would be high time to reference something that happened earlier this year with DePaul and Drake.
Yeah, we are going to have to bring that back. Drake.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to.
Big DePaul fan when they started 3-0 in the Big East.
Yeah, big fan of Brittany Horinko.
Whoever writes the preview for that, it's probably going to be Mir Pierce. It's going to be loaded with Drake references.
Yes.
Like the one Saturday was loaded with wrestling references.
Yep.
You got to spice them up. You got to make people want to read them.
Yep.
Anyway, it should be a good game. I believe Drake is favored by 1 at the moment. They are DePaul's favored by 1, so it's a toss-up.
Yep.
Drake and DePaul haven't played recently.
Nope.
But it's a nice test for DePaul before they play Arkansas Little Rock, who's actually undefeated still at the moment.
Yeah, ULAR is.
And then DePaul goes to Stanford, and it's a worse Stanford team than they played last year, but that doesn't mean anything.
No, because they beat Stanford last year.
Yeah. So yeah, this would be a nice game for DePaul to win, going into a nice little Arkansas Little Rock stretch, Stanford, and then the Northwestern rivalry, which doesn't have a name.
Which isn't really much of a rivalry because no one really cares.
But, they drummed it up. It's a 5-year thing now.
Yep.
Pierce will be there because it's a big game. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big deal.
Yes.
On to Thursday, 1 game, Troy Seton Hall. Seton Hall should win. I don't really know anything about Troy, but I'm just saying Seton Hall should win.
Yeah, Troy It's ranked 280th in KenPom.
Yeah.
They're 4-4. Their losses are to UAB, Samford, Idaho, which is a really bad loss, and Austin P. Their wins are over South Florida, Reinhard, North Texas, and Southern Miss. So it's just all kind of there.
What is Reinhard?
It's one of those non-rated D2 schools, I guess. They also play Payne on the 17th.
Is your prediction for that game Payne?
Yes.
There it is.
Yes. Of course.
Yeah.
Seton Hall should win comfortably in that one. And then there's no games on Friday.
Which is nice. I like that.
Yes, and then Saturday, it's a pretty loaded field.
Saturday's always loaded.
It really is. We got to get used to that because that's just what's going to happen the rest of the way.
Actually, you want a loaded Saturday, the 19th.
Oh, the 19th is an incredible Saturday across the board, not just in the Big East.
No, and I'm going to miss Virginia Villanova, and I'm not thrilled.
I can't blame you, pal.
Anyway, Bryant is playing Providence.
Yes, Bryant, who played Georgetown not too long ago.
It's the Bryant Bulldogs. It is not Kobe Bryant or Chris Bryant.
Correct.
Or Brian Gumbel.
Also true.
Providence should win. Providence doesn't really lose games at the dunk, Again, this whole thing, Big East teams don't lose home non-conference games. And, I mean, most teams don't. You're not scheduling great teams at home unless you're Kansas.
And Kansas will still win because they always win at the Fog.
Yeah, I thought Harvard was going to beat them the other day.
Yeah,
but,
they came pretty close, but then Jayhawk things happened. So
Providence is favored via KenPom by a decent margin, 20.
Mm-hmm.
Providence actually, until they play UMass in their last non-conference game, but before that, not really too much left on the non-conference schedule for Providence, which makes it even bigger that they took care of business in Anaheim.
Yeah, exactly. They had to win those games, and they did. So they're going to start the season assuming that they don't drop off out of nowhere. They might start the Big East season in the top 15.
So it's their highest ranking since 2004.
Yeah. So they're doing big things there.
Also, it's looking like Cole Huff is doubtful for Wednesday against Nebraska.
That's not good.
No.
That is not good.
Anyway, back to Saturday.
Yes.
Marquette, Wisconsin, Kohl Center. Wisconsin only lost like 10 games at the Kohl Center in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
In terms of non-conference games.
Something actually, ridiculous like that.
There was a time that conference games are actually included in that. They've started to drop a couple conference games there. But when Illinois beat them in, I think it was 2009, that was their first home non-conference loss in quite some time.
Yeah.
So that's a big game. It's the first road game of the year for Marquette, if you want to call it a road game. Well, no, it is. It is.
Let's be honest here. Even though Marquette fans should probably do a good job of getting to Cole, that's going to be dominated by red.
Yeah, I assume that's a road game and not a semi-home game. Let me just.
It's a road game.
Yeah,
that's a road game. No doubt about it.
Actually, Marquette's only true road game of the non-conference slate.
Yeah. So. You want your test. There you go.
Well, we said before the year that the Iowa, LSU, Arizona State, and Wisconsin were their four big non-conference games.
Yeah, and we had their best case scenario being 2-2. Well,
they lost to Belmont, so now they kind of need to beat Wisconsin.
Yeah, they need to kind of beat Wisconsin now. Yeah, but they can go 3-1 in that stretch.
Yeah,
we were giving them. If I remember correctly, we were giving them a loss to LSU.
Yeah.
We were giving them a loss to Wisconsin. We were giving them wins over Arizona State and
Iowa,
yeah. So
this isn't the Wisconsin team that lost to Western Illinois or Georgetown?
No, they've definitely improved quite a bit. They had some early struggles, and that's what's going to happen when you lose like 7 players from the team last year. I mean, geez, they don't have Jackson, they don't have Decker, they don't have Kaminsky, they don't have Dukan.
Nope.
They have Gosser.
Nigel Hayes has been good.
Nigel Hayes has been good. Yep. Ethan Happ has been very good for them. as has Vito Brown.
That's really your interesting matchup in this game. How can Brown and Hatt match up against Ellenson and Fisher?
Yes, because if I guess if you can kind of compare it, if Georgetown against Syracuse is any indication of how size might help a team against a team with relatively no length, then Ellenson and Fisher should have a field day working against 6'9" Ethan Happ and 6'8" Vito Brown.
Well, yeah, and if you can get one of them in foul trouble, you're looking at Charlie Thomas, who isn't exactly ready,
and then Alex Ilakanen, who is also a freshman. So and Khalil Iverson, who has played a little bit at the 3 and 4, but he's only 6'5". So if you get Vito Brown and Ethan Happ in foul trouble, Wisconsin is screwed.
Yeah, and just getting back, we are doing some hate week stuff for this.
We are.
Not to the level of Anonymous Eagle because, I can't hate on Bucky for not wearing pants because he's still the best.
Yeah, we're very pro Bucky here, unfortunately, for Marquette fans who may loathe him. But we're doing an interesting little twist here. We may do it in the future depending on the success rate of this. So far, it has been successful. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be reaching out to Badger fans. We have one Badger fan living in Milwaukee, and we're going to be talking to some Marquette fans that live in Madison, and we're going to call it living in enemy territory. So we're going to talk to them. We're going to ask them some questions about the environments and what they deal with, and we'll probably get those published on Friday. So just be on the lookout for them. It should be fun.
Yeah.
Should be fun. We have, like I said, we have one Wisconsin fan so far. Hopefully, we'll be able to maybe up that to 2 or 3. So far, I've gotten responses from 2 Marquette fans that are living in Madison. Maybe that'll increase a little bit. So, should be fun.
Also, Saturday, you got Tennessee Butler. Tennessee beat them last year when they went to Knoxville, but this one's at Hinkle. So,
and like you said, Butler doesn't lose games at Hinkle, so I suppose I shouldn't ask you who you're picking in that game.
Yeah, no. Good test for the Bulldogs before they play Purdue.
Yep.
Georgetown plays UNC Wilmington,
which is another game that Georgetown should be able to win.
UNC Wilmington, another one of the undefeateds left. We're down to 12 undefeateds.
Yeah.
And that'll drop by at least one more tonight.
Yep. So there'll be 11 by the end of the night. So who knows what will happen with other teams who may be unbeaten that are playing tonight. So.
And then UNC Wilmington, their next game is Georgetown, so that will probably be in single digits by the end of the weekend.
Yes.
Creighton plays honorary Big East member IUPUI.
Yes, of course.
You get the 3 Big East games, that gets you your honorary membership.
Mm-hmm.
Creighton should win.
We said that about the game against Loyola Chicago.
Yeah, but Creighton should really win this one.
Yes.
Actually,
if they,
for real.
Yeah,
definitely should win. Creighton is favored in this game by a decent chunk of points, 15. They're at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait for conference play because then we don't have to, half-ass these explanations.
Yeah, seriously, my God. Sometimes it just at least we haven't gone completely off the rails yet.
Not yet. Also Saturday, you have the Skyline Chili Crosstown Shootout. I'm saying the whole thing because we love Skyline Chili around here.
Oh my God.
That will be a fun game.
Yes.
It's generally a fun game. Cincinnati fans, after they lost to Butler, were very mad online.
Oh my God. I can't imagine what will happen if Cincinnati loses to Xavier this week.
Okay, Cincinnati fans are mad because I said that they shouldn't throw trash on the court.
They probably shouldn't.
No,
oh my God.
Throw garbage in general, unless you're throwing it into a trash receptacle.
Xavier fans kind of enable them by poking the bear, but
well, of course,
I can't blame them for that either because they hate him. So.
When you should throw garbage if you're balling up a piece of paper and you're saying Kobe as you throw it,
or if you are at a Nitro event in 1997, you feel like throwing a cup at Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, but
which
other than
I
that,
don't, which I endorse because Hulk Hogan's a terrible human being. So
yeah, but you really shouldn't throw trash on
No,
the
probably
field
not.
or court any other time. I mean,
probably not. No, probably
it's not a
not.
good way to get your point across.
No, it's really not. There are
Uh,
plenty of other ways to showcase that you're mad.
That game is at the Cintas Center, so Xavier is favored. I mean,
Yes.
not that it really matters. They are legitimately across town from each other. I think what it'd take us like 8 minutes to get
Yeah.
from Cincy to Xavier.
So it's not very far at all.
Which, if you are designing a college's athletic facilities, go to Cincinnati, look how they have it laid out, and just do the exact same thing.
And also, if you're in Cincinnati, go have Grader's ice cream because
Well,
Grader's
yeah.
ice cream is delicious.
Come on. Cincinnati as a city, actually, they have the pro sports teams all in the venues right next to each other, and then they have the college sports
campus.
teams.
Yeah.
Oh, also, if you need a reason to hate Cincinnati, one of their facilities named after Marge Schott.
Yeah.
So,
The great Marge Schott.
but yeah, Xavier's favored. They haven't lost a game to Cincinnati at home since they not play last year? No, they didn't.
They played in February.
Oh yeah, they did, and that was at the. It's not the Fifth Third Center. What is it? The Fifth Third Center?
The Fifth Third Arena.
Yeah,
Whatever the heck
that,
it is.
Is that where the
let's
Bearcats
see.
play?
They play. Yeah, they play their home games at Fifth Third.
Okay, and that's the one right next to Great American, right?
Correct. I think I don't actually know. Let me see. I know because that's the U.S. Bank Arena.
Oh yeah, and that's
the
where
US
they.
Bank Arena.
That's where they played this in the past.
Yeah, but now it's become okay. We're gonna play at home. We're gonna play away.
Yeah, this is actually the first year it's been at the. No, it was at the Cintas Center in 2012. But yeah, they did go neutral site for a while. I think it probably had to do with.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say with
The
what
ball,
happened.
among other
balls,
things.
exactly. Yeah, but they decided to return it to campus. So because it did used to be at each other's campuses, and then they took a 2-year hiatus from that, and then they returned it to the campuses. So
Going back to at least 2002, because that's as far as we have the KenPom data for. That was the last time Xavier lost at the Cintas Center against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they've only lost 6 non-conference games under Chris Mack there. So,
yeah, it's definitely going to be fun. I expect this to be a very physical game.
Yeah.
I expect this to not be to be pretty contentious.
yeah.
To say the very least. I'm not really. I don't know if I'm going to go out on a limb and pick a winner right now because both teams are pretty good.
Yep.
But I'll lean towards Xavier because they're the home team, but it's not a definite thing.
If you're going and you're a Xavier fan, please don't throw trash on the court because then I look bad.
Exactly.
And you look bad. Really. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
DePaul also plays Saturday against Arkansas Little Rock, one of the final undefeated teams. The back at McGrath Phillips. Not much to say there. DePaul's favored. And then Sunday, I know we have a couple games.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We have Syracuse and St. John's.
Yes. Interesting little test for St. John's. I think Cuse will end up coming away with the victory. Probably by a comfortable margin since the two teams are pretty there's a big disparity in talent.
Yeah.
But it will be fun to see Syracuse play in the Garden as it so often is.
Yeah, so, I mean, are you going to that?
I am not.
I didn't get a chance to ask yet.
Well, there you go.
No, I'm not. You going to the West Virginia game?
I'm not. I
get it all up
West Virginia and UConn, Maryland. That's a pretty good Jimmy B Classic right there.
Oh yeah. This is actually the game where it's a real disappointment that Boeheim's not there.
Yeah, seriously, because Boeheim at the Garden would have been fun.
This might be Syracuse's last trip to the Garden with Boeheim. I don't know what they have scheduled for next year.
Yeah, I don't think that they're playing at the Garden next year. But
I mean, it's his own fault. But
no, yeah, of course. But
But in fairness, the suspension should have been the first 9 games, no matter what. It should have been when he
Exactly,
would come
been-
back.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But yeah, should be a good test. Again, props to Syracuse for scheduling former Big East teams. Not a lot of teams do that when they leave the conference.
nope.
Seton Hall plays St. Peter's in Newark. You going to that?
No, pal.
That should be a
Even though
game.
Newark is certainly a lot closer for me and a lot more convenient than going into New York. So,
Yeah, Seton Hall is favored. They're actually favored in the rest of their non-conference games. So
yes, they are.
if
And
they can win out
Villanova-
and go into conference play 10-2, that's not bad.
No, it's not. And Villanova continues their Big Five series against LaSalle. They're favored very comfortably by over 20 points. Projected score is 82-58.
Man, Villanova playing like 3 games in 2 weeks. Well, I guess when you go to Hawaii, that'll happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine the flight from Philadelphia to Hawaii is fun.
No.
Because, I mean, even you stop in LA to refuel, but that's even about 6 hour. I mean, what was it? You did LA to Newark the one
It
time.
was about 6 hours.
Yeah, that's rough.
It was
That's
rough.
rough.
I was lucky to have some in-flight entertainment going on. So
Yeah. So that
about wraps it up.
about wraps it up. We went long today.
We did,
And we didn't even go off the rails, so
No, we didn't. That's going to happen after a loaded week, and a loaded week to discuss.
yeah. Next week is going to be a little less loaded because we do have a bunch of off days, but we also get to discuss that December 19th slate.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be fun.
Yes, it'll be very fun.
That about does it here.
Yep.
Just real quick before we sign off, it came out today that Andrew Smith, who used to play for Butler, his lymphoma has kind of moved into leukemia, so definitely
Yeah.
best wishes with him.
Yeah. Seriously.
He's been fighting. You can follow the journey. His wife's got a blog that we linked to earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep hanging in there, man.
Yeah, seriously. That heartbreaking situation. Hopefully everything turns up well.
Yep. All right. Are we done here?
Yeah, I believe that about wraps it up.
Oh, hold on. We just real quick here. 8 Boston College players are sick with E. coli, and so they play Providence Wednesday. We'll monitor this.
Okay, then.
That's not great.
No, that's not great at all.
So we'll see what Boston College brings to the table on Wednesday.
That's jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So thank you for joining us on Weekly Takeaway. Also, a bit of a quick announcement before we leave break. Promise this is the last one. We're going to be bringing new writers into the fold here over the next couple weeks, as early as later this week. So we'll have some new voices along with us. Maybe we'll even bring them onto this weekly hangout every now and then if we can get them to be available. So just be on the lookout for that. So now that does officially do it for us here today on Weekly Takeaway. We'll be back next Monday for my last show as a 23-year-old. My birthday's coming up in a couple of days, so that's always fun to turn 24. God, don't grow old, kids. It only gets worse after you hit your 20s. But be sure to keep reading the site. Keep hanging in with us here as the conference season approaches and as the month of December continues on. Be sure to watch Oklahoma-Villanova tonight. It's going to be an awesome game out in Hawaii. And for Rob O'Neill, I'm Chris Novak. Thanks for joining us, and take care.